This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Trapped in abusive relationships, how struggles to find childcare can complicate cases of intimate partner violence.
Free parking. Starting Thursday, the province will eliminate fees at hospital lots across Nova Scotia.
And new boundaries. Halifax is expanding the Sackville River floodplain for the first time in decades.
Breezy northwest winds ushering in a cooler air mass for Thursday, but lots of sunshine on tap. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. As cases of intimate partner violence continue to climb in Nova Scotia, experts say there are many barriers when it comes to a person's ability to leave an abusive relationship.
One of the biggest, access to childcare. Without a childcare provider, parents experiencing domestic violence have to work part-time or leave the workforce entirely and often find themselves stuck. Selena Alders has our top story tonight.
For many people, particularly women experiencing intimate partner violence, experts say their freedom hinges on whether they have access to the resources needed to leave and start over. One of these critical resources is childcare.
Gender-based violence thrives on vulnerability. It thrives on isolating you from your friends and your peers and your family. And so it thrives on the fact that you need to be home with your children. It thrives on the fact that you cannot get out because you don't have the money or you don't have someone to support your kids.
YWCA Halifax works with women experiencing intimate partner violence. It also provides childcare and housing supports. Mia Swakanaudio is executive director.
If you have children who are not yet school age in your care, or you don't have before and after school care, then you're not able to participate in the workforce. And if you can't earn a living, then the ability to go and support and move out is significantly affected.
I spoke to one Nova Scotia woman who says she'd been wanting to leave her abusive marriage for 3 years. But because she can't find childcare, she can't work full-time to support her kids. Her identity is protected by a court-ordered publication ban, but she says this situation has left her feeling stuck, trapped, and at times fearing for her life. And her story is not unique. Rachel Shepard with Bryony House says they see it all the time.
Often we'll hear on our crisis line that people are feeling stuck, that, with the cost of rent and the cost of living, if you don't have an income and you can't get a space in daycare to go back to work, what are your options? And so a lot of women really truly feel stuck.
While the provincial government has made significant investments in both childcare and domestic violence prevention, Swakanaudio says we have to look at how these issues are intertwined.
Often we're not connecting those dots, and we as an organization that does both childcare and housing and gender-based violence, we're seeing that connection every day.
As for the woman I spoke to, her husband was recently arrested and is facing a slew of assault charges. She says she's moving forward with ending the marriage, but she's still waiting to find a childcare spot so she can go back to work full-time. Selena Alders, CBC News, Halifax.
Members and supporters of Nova Scotia's Filipino community came together Tuesday evening to hold a prayer vigil for the victims of the Lapu-Lapu Day tragedy in Vancouver over the weekend. It was one of several similar gatherings held across the province and the country.
May our hearts be united in this moment of healing, unity, and hope.
It's just so difficult to make sense of such a senseless, tragic incident that happened in Vancouver. Events like the Lapu-Lapu Festival, those are events that are supposed to gather all of us to celebrate our culture. It's supposed to be a safe event. So for something like that to happen, it's just unreal. I can't believe it.
In this moment of sorrow, the Lord is in our midst.
So this evening we have a vigil that was put on by the Filipino Association of Nova Scotia, and we're all gathering here to support and feel united across Canada with our kapatids and kababayan, our brothers and sisters in Vancouver, British Columbia. We're just here to support them and basically honor those souls that left that day. Of course, it was devastating news because both my children were born in Vancouver. We lived there for 12 years. All my siblings, my cousins, all our friends, all reside in Vancouver. And actually, my nephew went to the festival, the Lapu Lapu Festival, to celebrate with his friends and left minutes before this tragedy happened.
Events like this, just a vigil to gather all the Filipino community, it brings us all together, and it shows how much of a community we are here in Nova Scotia, and we are here to grieve the families who lost loved ones in Vancouver, as well as stand with the survivors that are healing.
Us being here together, really, I think it consoles us to be together. It's such heartache, and it's heartbreaking, and it's painful when it's your own community that's going through this. So we're here all together to stand by and hold each other's hands and hold this vigil.
A teenager arrested in connection to threats made against a Halifax high school is facing dozens of new charges, including threats made against specific students at the school. The 16-year-old boy was arrested at his home last week after police received a tip from a suicide hotline operator that the teen allegedly said he wanted to shoot up Citadel High and then take his own life. The boy was scheduled to appear in court Wednesday morning for a bail hearing, but new charges were introduced by the Crown. The Crown says it received a large volume of evidence, including 4 laptops and a cell phone, and expects more charges could be laid. The boy remains in custody until his next hearing on May 12th.
The RCMP is asking for the public's help in connection with recent shots fired in Digby County. The police say shots were fired at a home on C. Boudreau Road in the community of Malvillette. The house was unoccupied at the time and there were no injuries, but police say the home was damaged.
And in Pictou County, a police search led to 56 drug and weapons charges against 4 people. Police say the arrests are connected to the seizure of drugs and firearms, including a handgun and a sawed-off shotgun at a home on Gill Court in Pictou. They say it's part of an ongoing drug trafficking investigation.
Starting May 1st, patients and visitors to hospitals across Nova Scotia will be greeted by a new message. Parking at all healthcare facilities will be free. It's a promise made by the PCs during the election campaign, but it comes with some hesitation. Carolyn Ray reports.
For everyone with an appointment, a treatment, or someone to see, parking fees at all hospitals in Nova Scotia will be a thing of the past.
I think it's awesome. I really do. I mean, you pay enough as it is for things, and this is going to be extra for people that coming in don't have to pay. I think it's great.
This is about people that are going to health appointments. This is about people that are visiting somebody who's interacting with the healthcare system, and their parking is free. It's a good thing. It's a good day.
While it's not an issue outside of the city, there are concerns about how this will work at a few sites within the Halifax area. For example, here at the VG, where you can park and be steps from downtown. Spots can be so difficult to find at the VG, the health authority started a valet program, double parking vehicles to maximize space. Next door at the IWK, cars are often lined up down the block, trying to squeeze into the only visitor parking garage.
We have patients waiting an hour to get into the parkade every day. Like, no one's on time for their appointments because parking is so hard to find.
It's awesome that it's going to be free. I guess the question is going to be the availability of the parking. My thought with that is, if it's free, are people going to use the parkades as an opportunity to park but not even go to the hospitals?
I'd just like to really ask those who are considering using these parking spots who don't have business at the hospital to reconsider that.
The health authority shares those concerns and says it has a plan in place to police those trying to take advantage of a free spot. Visitors will have to go to the welcome desk and say why they're there before they can get their pass validated. Those who aren't there for a legitimate reason will have to pay double the current fees.
Ultimately, what's important here is that people know that when they go to the healthcare facility, the only thing they need to worry about is the reason that they're there, not the parking.
As for the charities that benefit from parking fees, the province says it will fill the gap, a $19 million plan that kicks in Thursday. Carolyn Ray, CBC News, Halifax.
And certainly a nice day weather-wise in Halifax for sure.
Yeah, sunshine, warm temperatures. What a way to end April.
Yeah, that's right. And it was a beautiful day. I mean, temperatures really peaked nicely. Have a look at these highs across the province. High teens, low 20s. Western Head at one point was the hottest spot in the entire country today. You can see 18, 21, Sydney to Ingonish Beach. A little cooler in those onshore winds along the Tri-County coastline, but overall beautiful. Not quite as warm on Thursday, no doubt about that, but not a bad day. We're going to be seeing temperatures ranging between about 10 to 14 for most of the mainland, cooler across the northeast and into Cape Breton. And we actually could see a few flakes flying on, overnight and into the morning hours for northern Inverness County, wrapping around on the backside of the system. Those northwest winds, by the way, which are gusty and ushering in that cooler air, will ease throughout the day on Thursday. And yeah, that area of high pressure keeping lots of sunshine in the mix. We are going to cloud up on Friday. Chance of some spotty showers, not anything too impactful with that. For Saturday, chance for some showers and drizzle early in the morning. But overall, Saturday is not looking too bad as temperatures are going to be bumping up, especially into the afternoon. We'll talk about that in your full weekend forecast coming up.
All right.
Happy to hear that. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, the Halifax Regional Municipality is expanding the Sackville River's floodplain for the first time in decades. The move drew applause from environmental advocates, but some homeowners say they're worried about their property values. The CBC's Haley Ryan has that story.
Many residents along the Sackville River's watershed are all too familiar with flooded streets and homes. But on Tuesday, Halifax councillors passed expanded floodplain maps that bring development control and restrictions through Bedford, Lower and Middle Sackville.
Long overdue in the protection of the Sackville River system. I mean, we all witnessed that flood of 2023 and the damage that did.
The expanded floodplain maps are based in a 2017 study that was updated last year and takes climate change into account. Walter Regan is a longtime environmental advocate and past president of the Sackville Rivers Association. He says he's been waiting for this day since 1988.
Ecstatic. Yeah. The HRM Council is to be congratulated. HRM staff is to be congratulated. It was a good win for the public and for the Sackville River and the environment. Thank you, HRM.
2 new zones have been laid over original floodplain boundaries from the 1980s. One map covers properties that have a 5% chance of flooding in any year, also called the 1 in 20-year map. It will only allow new developments for non-residential use, like parks, trails, or utilities. The other map is for properties that have a 1% chance of flooding, called the 1 in 100-year zone. That area allows most new developments if they meet criteria to withstand floods.
People should never have been able to build where they built. However, what you have now is an opportunity to prevent that from happening to the next people who want to build and to provide some protection for those who are currently there.
About 900 properties will be impacted by the new floodplain changes. Some residents say they're worried their property values will now drop.
It's going to the point where, for the owners, this might be devastating, right?
Well, it's frustrating because, I'm 68 years old and I'm sort of, coming up to the end. And how does this kind of fit into what we do with the property in the future?
Antoft says he plans to gather other impacted residents to explore a class action appeal of any changes to their property assessments. The city plans to update the floodplain mapping at least every 10 years, or earlier if new information becomes available. Haley Ryan, CBC News, Halifax.
A Nova Scotia pulp mill that shut down 4 years ago is seeking a second extension to a stay of proceedings under the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act. Northern Pulp will be in court on Friday and is seeking an extension until July 18th. The company says it needs the time to further advance preparations for a potential sale of its assets if a new mill near Liverpool proves to be unfeasible. Northern Pulp has been under creditor protection since June of 2020 after it closed its craft pulp mill in Pictou County, eliminating 300 jobs.
Two men who are facing charges for intimidation, uttering threats, and extortion in southwestern Nova Scotia have received fresh court dates. A judge in Digby Provincial Court agreed this week to allow Eric Thibault to shift his election and plea on a number of charges until June the 18th, as his lawyer receives information about his case. Thibault's son, Zachary Thibault, is back in court for election and plea on May 7th. The father and son's charges include allegations they confronted a lobster buyer at his home near Metegan.
The company behind the massive Regent Park project in Toronto says Halifax's Bloomfield site is a missed opportunity. It put in a proposal to redevelop the old school site in 2012, but it was rejected by city officials. This month, after years of neglect and a February fire, the buildings are being torn down. The CBC's Richard Cuthbertson reports.
It's hard to imagine how it was now. It's already kind of fading from our memories here.
But for Halifax Mayor Andy Fillmore, the saga of the former Bloomfield school site is still front of mind.
Everything's being separated. You can see the piles of steel here and the piles of concrete here.
In 2012, the city sold the site. That deal collapsed, and it was sold again in 2021 to a developer. But redevelopment is stalled. The lesson here, according to the mayor, is the city must impose tighter deadlines and conditions when it sells land.
I would like to see properties not sitting as long as this and others have sat.
If you want to see what can be done on public land, look no further than Toronto's Regent Park, where thousands of apartments and condos, a cultural centre, a soccer pitch, and much more have been built.
You know, Bloomfield, I believe, was a lost opportunity, a missed opportunity for the city.
Mitchell Cohen is the CEO of Daniels Corporation, the for-profit company behind Regent Park. In 2012, it put in a proposal for Bloomfield, a mix of market and affordable housing. Much of the development would have been driven by what people in the community wanted, such as a local arts hub.
So we proposed to HRM that we would collaborate, we would partner, we would both have what we refer to as skin in the game. We're in it together. We're not just going to go buy land from you and throw money at the wall to buy a piece of land and some buildings, but we want to do it together.
Mitchell Cohen says there was zero response from Halifax. And today, no new buildings, only demolition. If construction doesn't begin by next January, the city does have the option of buying back the land for nearly $20 million, 90% of the original purchase price.
If we find that the terms of the buybacks or the purchase and sale are violated, then yes, I think it's absolutely incumbent on the city government to take action so that we don't have derelict sites in the middle of a housing crisis.
The company that owns Bloomfield Bank Investments has not replied to CBC requests for information about its plans. Richard Cuthbertson, CBC News, Halifax.
Marine container cargo traffic in the Port of Halifax dropped 6.8% last year compared to 2023. According to a release from the port on Tuesday, during 2024, there were 42 large ultra-class vessels, which made 117 stops in the port, showing the port's overall strength. But the port says global events decreased container traffic for the first 3 quarters of the year. The port says non-containerized cargo was up about 20%, including agricultural products and offshore wind components.
Some ferry activity at the Cable Wharf in Halifax Harbour. We've got Ryan up next with his full weather forecast, and we're back after the break.
So many people in shorts and sandals, T-shirts, the day for it, for sure.
And a good mood, too.
Yeah, listen, the kids were off today. It was PA day.
Good day for that.
Yeah, so my kids were in their bathing suits doing slip and slide at the side of the house today. April. Yeah, what a way to end April,
no kidding.
for sure. I'd have a look at this beautiful shot, Peggy's Cove, and a great evening there as well. A little on the breezy side, no question, especially along the coast with those northwest winds, 20 to 30, gusting 40, 50. It's definitely going to be a breezy evening and a beautiful shot there, of course, from beautiful Peggy's Cove. And as we look at those temperatures, they have been falling, no doubt, but still hanging on to the 15 to 17 range out there right now for most. A little cooler in those onshore winds, Tri-County, North Shore, and into Cape Breton as well, where the winds are blowing in off the Gulf. And you can see those winds, it's sustained 30, 40 kilometers per hour. In fact, at last check, Halifax sustained near 46. And as we look at those gusts, we're gusting in the 50, even 60 kilometer per hour range at last check. These winds will continue very gusty through this evening, and then they're going to ease slowly but surely overnight. And on the back edge of this system, as it starts to spin away, the cold air wrapping in, it's going to be cold enough for a few flakes to fly across northern Inverness County. This is the Maritimes, right? All the seasons in one day, certainly possible. As we look at this area of high pressure moving in, we're going to see the winds easing and the sunshine really being dominant as we look at the forecast for tomorrow. Temperature's not doing too bad, though considerably cooler than it was today. This is the next system that we're going to be watching. That is going to be rolling in for Friday. And you can see temperatures surging up ahead of that system, the cold air wrapping in on the other side. But you know what? Even when the cold air is wrapping in and it's, we're in the 12 to 18 range across the prairies, not looking too bad for this time of year. Now, as we look at the overnight lows tonight, temperatures are going to be dropping into the 2 to 4 range for most. We will drop to as chilly as 1, perhaps in low-lying areas, Cumberland, Colchester, and into Cape Breton as well, with, of course, that chance for some flakes. And you can see things will cloud up across the north and east and into Cape Breton, and there are those flakes generally over the highlands, but we could actually see some accumulation over the highlands tonight and into Thursday morning. Note the sun dominating across the mainland for Thursday. Even across Cape Breton, those skies are going to clear as we move into the afternoon. Temperatures 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees across Cape Breton. The best chances for flurries will be from Inverness up through Cheticamp and across to Ingonish, maybe as far south as Mabu, and then down into the mainland. And we're looking at temperatures bumping up, the winds lighter. By the way, those winds, yes, still quite gusty across Cape Breton tomorrow, still gusting 50 to 60 in the morning, tapering off to around 40 into the afternoon. The North Shore will likely see sustained winds near 20 at times, especially in the morning, and then tapering into the afternoon. The rest of Central will likely see sustained winds near 10 with some gusts upwards of 20 to 25. And you can see into the west, temperatures are going to be anywhere from 10 to around 14 degrees. So not bad for this time of year. There's the area of high pressure that's going to be fading off to the south and east, and we're watching this warm front to cross in for Friday. That's going to A, kick the cloud cover up, B, especially along the warm front, bring a chance for some spotty showers throughout the afternoon. Better chance that we'll get into a shower moving in for the evening. And then we'll pick up that story in just a moment. Let's show you the temperatures for Friday, ranging between around 10 to 14 for most, but cooler in the onshore winds. And there are those shower chances marching in, especially for the west, but could see them here, as you see, as far as east as Port Hawkesbury, say, by the end of the afternoon. Saturday, chance for some showers and some drizzle in this southwesterly flow, but I'm expecting with the fog patches as well in the morning, that kind of fading off into the afternoon, back to the coastline. I do think we could see some sunny breaks into the afternoon, and temperatures on Saturday will range between 16 to 18, maybe even some 20s on the board. Chance for some showers rolling back in for Saturday evening in through the Tri-County area, but it looks like indeed it should hold off into the evening. So an early morning risk and a late day risk. Saturday, not doing too bad. Sunday, looking a little on the damp side. Showers, clouds dominating. Temperatures mild though, Tom and Amy, but I do think Saturday afternoon will be the kind of the pick of the weekend.
Okay.
Make the most of it.
You bet. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Coming up, Premier Tim Houston weighs in on the federal election results and the future of the Conservative Party. Welcome back. Premier Tim Houston gave his first news conference today since the federal election.
He spoke about the national campaign, working with Mark Carney's new government to advance Nova Scotia's interests and his own leadership aspirations.
I'm looking forward to working with Prime Minister Carney and his team. I'm excited about some of the initiatives that they've talked about. Certainly the National Energy Corridor and making Canada an energy superpower. Those are things that are really exciting and really exciting for Nova Scotia, with the potential that we have here in so many different energy sources, from geothermal to hydro to wind to onshore and offshore to gas onshore and offshore. We have incredible potential in energy, so I'm really excited about that, and I'm not just looking forward to working with the Prime Minister and his team.
What do you make of the results for the Conservatives in Nova Scotia, especially they only picked up one seat?
Yeah, obviously, I know a lot of the candidates personally. I know campaigns are hard. You put a lot into them. There's lots of highs and lows. So I certainly I feel for them, the ones that were unsuccessful. I don't read too much into it. I didn't really get that involved in the federal election, but You know, I think what we've learned. There's always lessons to be learned, and I think there'll be some lessons learned from this campaign. I think the Conservative Party of Canada was very good at pushing people away, not so good at pulling people in, and I think that they probably saw that in some of the results they had across the country.
Sandra Moss said yesterday that the federal Conservatives in Nova Scotia could have used your help in this election, and that generally Nova Scotia PCs and federal Conservatives should work more closely together. What do you make of those comments?
I'm a collaborative person. I work with people that I can work with all the time. I don't differentiate between political parties. I work with Nova Scotians every single day. The federal election, I stayed clear of. I wrote to both the letters to both the leaders on issues that matter to Nova Scotians. But I think just on the Conservative movement in general, I think the Conservative Party of Canada, well, I hope they do some soul searching on what they believe it means to be a Conservative. There are many shades of blue, and I think that people will see that the way I govern, and they'll see that in our caucus and our party members, that we work with Nova Scotians. We'll work with anyone.
They're going to be better served by doing that by electing a new leader, do you think? Now that
that'll be for them to decide. That'll be the Conservative Party of Canada. Their membership will decide that. Their caucus will. That's for them to decide. I'm just excited to work with the new government and anyone who wants to help advance the interests of Nova Scotia.
Have you spoken to Prime Minister Carney since the results?
I've reached out to him personally.
Neither he nor Mr. Poilievre that we heard responded to your 6 priorities. Are you disappointed by them?
I definitely had a discussion with Prime Minister Carney on the contents of the letter during the campaign. But look, the idea was just to remind people what's important to Nova Scotians, and now we have elections behind us, and we'll move forward. And I'm looking forward to working with the new government on advancing the interests of Nova Scotians and Canadians.
Did the Prime Minister commit to any of that?
He didn't commit to all of it, for sure. It was a discussion about. I think it was a discussion about what's important and why. But for me, as I said, a number of the things that they've indicated that as a new government they'll focus on is right exactly in our wheelhouse too. So
Did you commit to any of
provincial
it?
campaign, Premier, during your campaign, you were talking about taking on the Trudeau government. There's a bit of a, Nova Scotia wasn't getting a fair shake. Now that Trudeau is out of the picture, can you work with Carney?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I'm optimistic about what's possible because of the things that they're talking about. As I mentioned, the energy corridor is really important. Focusing on energy generation, the potential for the country. Nova Scotia is in that mix, so I'm really excited about that. I think we can get a lot done.
I'm sure you saw that Doug Ford suggested a few days ago that you're interested in the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada.
I don't think he suggested that.
How would you interpret what he said?
What are you referring to when you talked about the video?
About your video.
And now, the rest of Canada is again following our interprovincial lead. Inspired by the Black Loyalists and the Trelawney Maroons, we will not be bullied by those that look to oppress us. We were the first province in Canada, the first port of call for generations of new Canadians, and we will never be the 51st of anything.
He was asked about your video, and he said, "I think he's
or something." Did he? Or something
yeah, something like that. And he said, "I think he has leadership aspirations." You saw that. I'm sure you've seen that.
No, I didn't see him say it that way. I mean, people may interpret certain things, but I think he said. Didn't he say he was razzing me or something, or was giving him the gears or something like that?
Yeah. So it was just.
Yeah, I think it's just the video is incredible. Over 2 million views right now, and it has evoked a lot of emotions in Nova Scotians, and certainly people that have a connection to Nova Scotia in some way, shape, or form, came to school here, have relatives here. Like it's had a really positive impact, and and that's what was the intent.
So
this is a great province.
So are you interested in the federal leadership?
No, I'm focused on Nova Scotia. Moving forward this province. There's a lot we can do in this province. That's my focus.
You said no in front of that. You mean no? No means no?
To what?
The federal leadership.
To the federal leadership.
Oh, I'm focused on Nova Scotians, you guys. That's pretty clear.
Coming up, festival attack. Vancouver's mayor calls the incident a failure of the mental health care system.
And GDP drop. Canada's economy shrank slightly in the month of February, but signs point to growth in March. Welcome back. In Vancouver, feelings of grief and disbelief continue to be felt in the city over the deadly Lapu Lapu festival attack.
And there are other emotions emerging, anger and frustration, including from the city's mayor. The CBC's Chris Reyes has his passionate call to action.
Let me walk you through this memorial, one of many in the city and really across the country, because, you know, the flowers keep arriving, the candles are burning, and all of this gives you a real sense of how this city is grieving and how the essence of the Filipino community permeates all of that. You know, some examples, you see a lot of Philippine flags here. You see crosses, you see rosaries. Some people have made the effort to build altars where they've left pictures of the victims. We've also witnessed that there is a bit of a daily pilgrimage happening here. We've seen people stop and stare and cry. Some don't know the victims and others are painfully connected to the tragedy. One woman that I met here was in tears. She works at a hospital and she knows a victim in critical condition. All of this grieving is happening as this city grapples with how this could have happened and how it could be prevented in the future. We heard from Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim an impassioned call to action.
I think we're all tired. And look, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I'm just speaking from the heart. Not as mayor, but as a resident of Vancouver, as a citizen, as a father, as a family member, as a neighbor, as a friend. Like I look at the list here, like just, I've seen in the news, Richard, Lynn, Katie, 3 individuals, a family of 4, left an orphan son. How many more reports do we have to do to come up for a reason why their family is absolutely devastated? We need action. We already know what the answer is.
Among other things, Sim is calling for mandatory care for those with severe mental health issues. He said the urgency of dealing with that problem was made clear by this tragedy. Kaiji Lo, the suspect in this case, is in custody facing numerous murder charges. He was under the care of a mental health team, but was on extended leave from hospital at the time of the attack. Chris Reyes, CBC News, Vancouver.
The sexual assault trial of 5 former World Junior hockey players heard testimony from some of their former teammates. The court also saw text and video from the night of the alleged assaults nearly 7 years ago. Katie Nicholson has more from London, Ontario.
The night that ties 5 former teammates together now coming into clearer focus. Former World Junior hockey players Michael McLeod, Cal Foote, Dylan Dubé, Alex Formanton, and Carter Hart are all charged with sexually assaulting a then 20-year-old woman known as EM in June of 2018. They have all pleaded not guilty. London Police Detective Tiffany Waquet presented surveillance videos from Jack's Bar, where Michael McLeod could be seen dancing with EM, and of the 2 entering the Delta Hotel, where they had sex in room 209. Key evidence in the case, the texts that followed. At 2:10, McLeod texted some players, "Who wants to be in a 3-way? Quick, 209, Mikey." Someone using Carter Hart's phone responded, "I'm in." At 2:15, another text from McLeod to another player, inviting him to his room using a slang term for oral sex. Court also watched 2 videos of EM taken from McLeod's phone, one at 3:25 a.m. in which he asks, "You okay with this?" She responds, "I'm okay." And again at 4:26 a.m. in which she asks if she's being filmed, and a male voice is heard saying, "It was all consensual?" "You're so paranoid. Holy," she replies. "I enjoyed it. It was fine. It was all consensual. I'm so sober, that's why I can't do this right now."
In Canadian law, consent has to be contemporaneous with the sexual activity.
And this law professor says people can change their minds. The existence of the video, she says, raises questions about consent.
The Crown might say, why was this video made? Especially after the sexual activity. Was there a concern about the lack of consent? Was this an attempt to sort of make up for the lack of consent at the time of the sexual activity?
It's not all down to text and videos. Court is about to start hearing from other players who were there that night at the bar and at the hotel. And there will be group chats entered into evidence as some of the players discussed what happened that night and the aftermath. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, London, Ontario.
U.S. President Donald Trump says Prime Minister Carney will visit the White House within a week. Trump was asked about rebuilding relations with Canada after Carney and the Conservative leader criticized him during the campaign.
I think we're going to have a great relationship. He called me up yesterday. He said, "Let's make a deal." He was running for office. They both hated Trump, and it was the one that hated Trump, I think, the least that won. I actually think the Conservative hated me much more than the so-called liberal. He's a pretty liberal guy. But no, I spoke to him yesterday. He couldn't have been nicer, and I congratulated him. But he's a very nice gentleman, and he's going to come to the White House very shortly, within the next week or less.
Pakistan says it has what it calls credible intelligence that India is planning to attack it within days. Indian officials have not commented, but they blame Pakistan for backing an attack last week in Indian-controlled Kashmir that killed 26 people. As Nia Punia reports, there's pressure on both sides to reduce tensions.
The US is urging India and Pakistan to show restraint as tensions continue to mount here in South Asia. Pakistan claims it has credible information that New Delhi is planning a military operation of some kind.
Rather than pursuing the path of reason, India has apparently decided to tread the dangerous path of irrationality and confrontation, which will have catastrophic consequences.
It's also said that the onus for further escalation rests solely with New Delhi, including whatever consequences will follow. In 2019, India had carried out airstrikes inside Pakistan when 40 Indian soldiers were killed in a terror attack in Indian-administered Kashmir. Pakistan had responded with air raids, and that saw bilateral ties plummet. But this is a new low for the nuclear-armed neighbors. India has neither commented nor denied these allegations that Pakistan has leveled, but Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has held a slew of meetings on Wednesday with his cabinet committee members. On Tuesday evening, he met with India's defense minister and the heads of the three armed forces, reportedly giving them complete operational freedom on how India should respond and when it should respond. Experts say that India is possibly mulling a limited military response because New Delhi will also not be keen on this expanding into a wider conflict. But experts on both sides of the border will now be watching on how this plays out in the coming days. Neha Punia for CBC News, New Delhi.
An official Canadian delegation is headed to the Netherlands. It's to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. And joining them will be several Canadian students on a field trip of a lifetime. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson has more.
It's a long way from Summerside, PEI, to the small town of Bergen-op-Zoom in the Netherlands.
So these are gifts.
But this vice principal believes the trip is essential for his students to bring history to life.
Remembrance Day was just kind of a one-day-a-year thing, and we just decided that here that we're going to try to do it a little bit differently.
Students will walk in the footsteps of soldiers who helped liberate the Netherlands from Nazi occupation in 1945 and lay a plaque on a grave.
I mean, it's very easy to think, oh, it was 100 years ago, it doesn't really make a difference what happened, but everything that happened and all those people who sacrificed their lives were for the freedoms today.
For kids born well into the 21st century, many without living relatives who fought in the Second World War, Canada's role in victory in Europe 80 years ago can seem remote, abstract.
This town here that we're going to liberate.
Still, teachers like Jackie Shaw, who is also taking students to the Netherlands and France, say the interest is there, sometimes in surprising places.
Some of these kids do have a connection via their parents serving in the Canadian military. Some of them just, I think, naturally love history, which is great. To be honest, I think some of them are interested in it because of playing video games at some point, right?
Us living back then, we would have to go to war as well because they were like 2 years older than us, so not that big of an age gap.
And teachers say it's not just about the lessons of the past.
In light of recent events, I think it's important that we wave our flag proudly. And it's important to realize that, you know, we're wanted, we're needed in this global climate.
These bars show how many years he spent fighting in Europe.
As lessons of history connect with a digital generation born well after the war. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
The first weekend of May marks the 80th anniversary of Liberation Day. Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault will host a CBC News special on Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern from the Grosbeek Cemetery in the Netherlands, where more than 2,000 Canadians are buried.
New figures suggest the Canadian economy shrank slightly in February. Economists say the trade war with the U.S. is partly to blame. The CBC's Kyle Bax looks at the factors that are cooling growth.
New comics arrive at the Silver Snail, ready for store shelves. What's missing are customers.
When people are like, tightening up their weekly budgets, trips to the comic store is one of the first things that gets cut.
Sales are down 15% since the trade war with the U.S. began. Some products are impacted by tariffs, while with others, it's not yet clear. For now, it's hard to guard against price increases, causing a real headache.
Is creating really an inability to plan anything long term because we just don't know where things are going to be at. We don't not knowing how much products are going to actually cost.
New figures show the economy began to freeze up in February, a small 0.2% drop in GDP, partially due to the snowstorm and the start of trade tensions. It's likely the beginning of what's to come for much of this year, assuming tariffs remain in place.
We don't think there will be outright contractions, at least not quarterly consecutive contractions, which would normally be called a recession. We don't have that in our base case. We don't expect a lot of growth from the Canadian economy from the second quarter pretty much to the end of the year.
U.S. economic numbers were also weak, leading to a drop on the stock markets. A change in consumer sentiment is noticeable as many are being cautious with their wallets.
I'm more cognizant for sure. I am comparing prices a lot more, looking for a deal on different apps and things.
At the Silver Snail, the hope is the warmer spring and summer weather will bring more customers swinging through the doors. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
Canada's main stock index closed down today, and U.S. markets were mixed as first quarter economic data shows signs of weakness on both sides of the border. Here's a look at the markets as we head to break. All right, weekend's looking,
He's working on
a bit
it,
of everything,
Tommy.
working on it. But today, awesome.
Yeah, beautiful. Everybody snuck outside for a few minutes. Just
that's right. I
take it
mentioned earlier my kids had their swimsuits on today, had the garden hose going. It was an off day for the kids. And Rosemary mentioning this in her picture as well. Have a look at this. No school. And so why not head to the beach?
Wow.
Phuket. And
gorgeous.
Great day for it. You can't argue with
She
that.
said the kids were off, and their feet in the water by the looks of it. So
pretty close.
beautiful day for it. Thanks to Rosemary for sharing this. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Have a look. Not quite beach weather tomorrow. At Phuket Beach, temperatures are likely going to be in that mid-single-digit range. Similar story up into Cape Breton, where we will see a chance for some morning flurries for northern Inverness County and across the Highlands and into Victoria County as well. We'll see temperatures anywhere from 10 to 14 across most of the mainland, but again, that northeast a bit cooler. Wind shifting back to southerly on Friday. Clouds building in, showers. The best chances are going to be central and west. Could see an isolated shower toward the east by the afternoon, but this is not going to be looking like a whole lot through the day. As you can see, there's just a ton of sunshine again for Thursday. There's that warm front coming in with the clouds. Couple of sprinkles with that. Better chance into the evening and overnight as that next system comes into the mix. And Saturday, you can see the bulk of the green to the east of us. I do think we'll see some fog and drizzle early on, but then some sun breaking through into the afternoon and those showers holding off till late day. Temperatures on Saturday, 16 to 20.
Mild at least.
That's
okay.
good.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Well, a police car chase in Australia ended with a standoff on a narrow jetty. Then this happened.
Yeah, here's another angle of the red Jeep driving off the jetty and into the water, narrowly missing the police boat. The driver climbed on top of the sinking vehicle for a bit.
He then made a second try at escaping before police apprehended him. The vehicle is reported to have been involved in an earlier traffic incident. Wow.
So he tried hard. That's for
Determined.
sure. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.